No, I actually really wanted to be a vet. So I grew up from the time I was 4 years old, wanted to be a veterinarian. When it came to looking at colleges, primarily was looking at schools that would potentially have a good veterinary school.
Yep.
That's how I became an Auburn fan. I really wanted to go to Auburn.
Yeah.
So last minute, though, pivoted, and my parents were like, you're staying in state and going to Mercer. So that's where I wound up. But yeah, I mean, I worked at a vet's office in high school. Came back in the college summers and worked there, like loved it.
Yeah.
But figured out that once I got to college, like the concept of 8 years of school, undergrad and postgrad.
Oh, wow.
And just, the idea of, I mean, they say veterinary school is harder than medical because think about it, a medical doctor can speak to their patients and get an answer.
Okay.
A veterinarian can't do that. It's a shot in the dark and trying to figure out what's wrong with a thing that can't talk to you. So
I didn't even think about that.
I just, the older I got, the more I was like, maybe that's not the most realistic dream. And it's, I mean, I love it. I think it's such an amazing field, but I just was like, I got to pivot. My parents were like, we're paying for 4 years of school, figure it out. So I quickly pivoted and went to business and studied marketing and figured sales sounded like a good thing. So a family friend, he was our veterinarian in the small town I grew up in. We had a lot of animals, so we saw him a lot.
Yeah, okay.
And he was our neighbor, and he was a mentor to me, and he took me in. And when he found out I had aspirations of being a vet one day, he let me mentor or study with him and get in on surgeries and things. So he still works to this day. The man does not want to retire.
Well, that's okay. I guess it's different for everybody.
I think he may soon. He's turning 70 this coming year, so he's finally like, maybe I will.
Yeah.
He is in the apparel industry. So both my parents are bilingual. My dad, he has always done the outsourcing overseas logistics for apparel companies.
Yep.
So we moved to Georgia in the first place because my dad took over with Oxford Industries. If you're from the Georgia area, you may remember them back in the 90s.
I've heard of it.
They made golf apparel. So they were headquartered here in Atlanta, but we lived near Savannah.
Got it.
And that's how we wound up in Georgia. And then just over the years, he's worked in a few different apparel companies, that have made things for when I was in high school, like Abercrombie and Hollister, which was fantastic when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Now his company makes uniforms. So for like Georgia Power, kind of like a competitor to Cintas almost.
Got it.
I mean, again, to this day,
That's right.
He called me this morning. He's on his way to the Dominican because he is there all the time. He oversees one of the plants there. So the man's always gone. He's always doing something. And, growing up, that's just what you did, know, and I didn't want to take my mom's route. She wanted me to probably, but I wanted to be more like my dad. I wanted to get out there and just be involved and do something and stay busy. And, I think being idle leads to an idle mind. And so I've seen that with my dad. I mean, he's 70 sharp. He's always doing something. And so I think that's a big part of the reason why. It wasn't even a question. I think it's funny if you look at my generation, we all went to college, and that's why now there's such a lack of tradespeople. There's such a shortage of tradespeople because my generation was pushed like you're going to college or you're not doing anything.
Yep.
And so it was never a question. It was where are you going to college, not if you're going to college. I did. I went to business school.
Okay.
I knew I didn't want to do anything like finance or accounting because I'm really bad at math.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Incredibly bad. I just get nervous. If you ask me to
numbers are
if you ask me to do 5 plus 5 off the cuff, I'm like, I've never liked math, so I figured I would go somewhere. And kind of something we've chatted about before is like salespeople, like you often are considered because you have the personality for it, right?
Yes.
But what I loved was the idea that it was an industry where I would be compensated for the work I did, and it didn't seem like there would be a glass ceiling.
Yes.
And so that was exciting to me, the opportunity that the amount of work I'm putting in, I'm going to see the reward for.
Yep.
So of course, I mean, I'm in sales. Like, of course I'm money motivated, but the other thing to me that got me was just the excitement of not every day being mundane and the same. Mm-hmm. And so I'm out doing different things, meeting with different people, talking to all these different industry experts every single day.
Yep.
So my life is never boring. It's always something different each day. I cried my first day of work because to that point, it's funny because you expect going to college is supposed to prepare you for that, right? Yeah. Unless you're getting a specialized degree and you know you're going on to law school, right? Yeah. I talk about this so frequently. You're right. There's no blueprint. You're just kind of tossed out there with this degree and you're like, what's next? And I remember that feeling and it was so uncomfortable. But again, self-starter, my parents were like, we will help you out. Yep. Luckily, I was fortunate to have parents that were willing to help me out. They said, find something, but you have a certain number of months that we're going to help you. Right. And so that was motivating because I did not want to move back home. My very first thing that I started doing was working for Aflac. And that was not it. So as I was doing that, I was also bartending. I was helping to open a restaurant in Macon where I lived. And then I went and printed my resume out and literally walked around to different businesses and asked if they were hiring salespeople, and walked into a local TV affiliate there, the Fox and ABC affiliate, and handed the lady at the front desk my resume, asked if they were hiring salespeople. She went and got somebody, and next thing I know, they hired me. So that was my first real job, because Aflac was like a contract position. So that was my first real job.
No way.
But I remember the first day that I woke up at 6 a.m. and got ready to go into this thing. I'm like, I started crying because I was like, wow, this is my life for the next 40 plus years. Getting up every day and being regimented. Wow, what a concept. Yep. But yeah, that job taught me a lot for sure.
I believe it.
It was hard. It was right after the recession, and think about who's buying advertising. Nobody. So it was definitely a challenging job, but it gave me some good skills. And from that I was recruited by ADP and hired by them, which definitely gave me the foundation that I really did need. Yes. And that's why businesses recruit so heavily from ADP because of that. Their training program is top notch. Yep. And that was very much a blessing for me because I went there with some very soft skills and came out
just raw.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Came out with a lot of really great tools. It depended on the day. Most days, it's very challenging. Especially the market that I was in at the time, nobody knew who ADP was.
Really?
I was in Middle Georgia.
Okay.
So it was the only big payroll company at the time that had reps down there. Yep. So most people in that region either went with like a local small mom and pop type of company, or their CPA did their payroll, or they're on QuickBooks or whatever. Yeah. Half the time I would set up a meeting on the phone and then I'd walk in person for the meeting and they thought I was there to sell security equipment from ADT. So, yeah. So, you cut your teeth for sure. Yep. Taught me a lot of things. But yeah, it was very much, it's a very churn and burn, like onto the next thing constantly. So teaches you how to be resilient and, work through the nose ultimately. And it was funny, the first year I made a President's Club there, my former boss used to love telling this story to people, but she was with me and we were out in the field together and I had gotten, a verbal from a company on moving forward. It's the last day of the fiscal year that I could make President's Club. And I was so close. Oh, wow. And they'd given me a verbal, but they didn't give me all the information I needed to get it submitted to get counted for revenue. And I pulled over on the side of the road and immediately started calling clients to, offer them basically a retirement option that we sold at ADP. And that kind of a sale, it was the type that as soon as they signed the paperwork, it went into my number for revenue, right? Oh, okay. So that was the kind of thing that could get me over the edge. Yep. And I achieved it just sitting there on the side of the road with my boss who's freaking out, like, what can we do? We've got 3 hours, and I just sat there and called a few clients and made it happen. And I was really proud of that year because it was, my first year making President's Club there. And that was the big achievement to get there. And so,
that's awesome.
It was a great feeling. So funny enough, I think coming to Thread, because I was with ADP for 7 years. Okay. Got that 7-year itch, was like, I came to that crossroads. I remember it so vividly. And I thought, this is not what I want to do. And I left and went to Med Device and did that for a year. Realized and a lot of conversations with my dad, who again, I consider my mentor and who I go to with all my business decisions. But I called him and I said, I'm not happy doing this. I'm not really sure what to do. I'm still pretty young, at that point I was 30. And he said, well, go back to what you know. You knew payroll and HR, you knew that world. You were good at it. And that's where I decided to come back to the industry. And I went to another payroll company, Paylocity.
Okay.
Loved it there for a few years. But again, I decided also I wanted to get away from corporate and try something different. And that's how I wound up here at Thread.
Got it.
And I've been here for almost 4 years now, but getting here, and I think a lot of it has to do with who you work for. That was transformative for me. And coming here and approaching something that I've known to, and had success in doing for the past several years.
Yeah.
I think I really honed in on that here.
Yeah.
And found my niche. And it's hard for salespeople to brag on themselves, but I've made 3 consecutive President's Clubs here. And I don't know, you get imposter syndrome almost, but it's like, if I take a minute to pause and look back, I have made some success here, and it's exciting for me. And so, it makes me feel like I am in the right place now. So payroll itself is a really highly commoditized industry. There's a lot of players. So the secret behind it is, or the elephant in the room, if you even wanted to call it that, we're all doing pretty much the same thing. When it comes to the technology, we're all going to check whether we're, this payroll company, this one, we're all going to check a lot of the same boxes when it comes to the technology. So I'm often asked, why me versus, one of the big companies? A big part of it, and this is where I have truly fallen in love with being at somewhere like a Thread, and why I love Thread, is the people that are servicing the clients. I can't take any credit for that. I'm in sales, right? Yeah. So I win my clients over, but from there, they're working with our team. And I couldn't do this job if it wasn't for such a successful implementation team who creates that great experience for our clients. And then they go to their service team, to their account manager. Yeah. And they have that person that they rely on, and they can call directly. It's a different experience for our clients. And that's, we're going to provide them the technology, but to me, it's the people. Yeah. And Thread's earned a lot of really great awards for having that culture. Happy employees equal happy clients. Yep. So I can't really take the credit for that. It's the support of the team that we have here that has made that difference. Yeah. Outside of the payroll, and something that I've really taken a lot of focus on and educating, my existing clients and prospective clients on, is our suite of managed services. So, in the world where companies are looking to run more lean or more efficiently, they're looking to us to provide that guidance. High turnover. We've seen a lot higher turnover since COVID. It's an employer's workplace now. They're more demanding. And so, employee, not employer. The employees are more demanding. They're going to leave. If they can find a better benefit next door, they're not as loyal anymore. And so having that business continuity plan through outsourcing those positions to us, we're that administrative service offering for them. So they hire us to come in and be their HR department, or support their existing HR department. They hire us to come in and be their payroll department. So those services are something that I've tended to lean more of my focus into providing that value, not just the payroll technology, which is great. And that can sometimes be the foot in the door. But to me, the biggest value comes from the people solutions that we can give to our clients. I think the HR services have, because again, the payroll thing, again, it's so commoditized. They're getting beat down by every payroll rep running around Atlanta, or around the country. There's a lot of us running around.
Sure, right.
But to that point, I'm typically referred in on a payroll deal because somebody's heard I'm really frustrated. I can't get in touch. I'm on hold for an hour, trying to get through a call center or whatever. Yep. And that's one thing. Of course, that's where we're going to be a great fit, because our service model, the Trojan horse, has truly been the HR services, the managed umbrella of managed services. Yep. So being the HR department, supporting the HR department, being the payroll administrator, those have been the value added services that have really been successful for our clients. There's really not an easy answer for that. I would tell you my ideal, if you look at the clients that we service, there's a trend that majority of the ones that we have really provided the most value to would fall in between that 50 to 150 employee range.
Yep.
Companies that have multi-state employees, which again, we've seen grown so much after COVID, you know, a lot of companies,
remote,
us ourselves,
virtual.
I mean, we're a very hybrid remote workforce. We have employees as far as Seattle to Florida.
Wow.
So we span all over the country. And a lot of companies have gone that route. You know, they're able to cast a wider net, find better employees if they just offer remote work, right? But with that becomes so many more complexities. Each state has its own set of rules. And God forbid you're in like a California or a New York or a Pennsylvania where there's, you know, some of the highest compliance related laws when it comes to having employees in those states. And so that's a huge trigger for us to come in and really help make sure that we're taking care of the compliance. Many of my clients would fall around that 75 employee range, and they're multi-state. One that we're working with right now has employees in 28 states. So it's a full-time job in and of itself just to keep up with the complexities of each of those states.
Right.
But funny enough, I'm helping my sister-in-law's company. She's in California.
Okay.
And she only has 15 employees, but she called me because she's nervous that she's going to let something slip through the cracks. So even then, you know, it's only a 15 employee company, but there's a lot of complexities in California.
Yep.
So she's now working with our HR team. They're proactively keeping up with things for her so that she can have that peace of mind, and they're looking to expand the business and grow. And so she wants this off her plate so she can continue growing the business and not have to worry about, you know, the complexities that come with the employees. There are still a lot of people. I actually just got introduced to a construction company that is about 75 employees, and they're still using QuickBooks, for instance.
Wow.
And a lot of people, most companies nowadays, I would say the majority are probably using some sort of a payroll service.
Yeah.
And if you say like self-administrate, there's usually somebody internally that is processing the payroll for the business, right? But they're using some kind of a system, some kind of a platform.
Yep.
There's still people that use like a QuickBooks, for instance, which isn't necessarily a payroll platform. It's more of an accounting, you know, financial services system that has that payroll component. But I would say majority of businesses are using another payroll provider.
Got it.
So, but yeah, internally, we see a lot of businesses where there's a person running the payroll, but that person has a lot of other things on their plate. They're not just there to be a payroll administrator.
Yeah.
Now, a larger company, of course, a payroll administrator is a full-time position.
Okay.
But for the majority of the companies that we're working with, you know, that 50 to 500 employee range, it's usually somebody who's got a lot of other tasks on their plate. So it depends on the violation. And there's a lot of complexities that are with payroll and with compliance overall that are regulated by the Department of Labor, by the Department of Revenue.
Okay.
Random things, even insurance related, you know, workers' comp, for instance, there's different regulations state to state, whether or not you have to provide workers' comp. I think Georgia, it's 3, if I'm remembering correctly. Things like that. So those are the kind of things that would be audited. With a payroll violation, if you have calculated taxes incorrectly and paid them incorrectly, you know, that could be a penalization.
Yeah.
Majority of the payroll providers, like the actual service, what we call service bureaus, they take on the liability with the payroll taxes. So that's something that we do for our clients. Yep. It's a form that they sign. It's basically a power of attorney that Thread takes over all of the payroll tax liability.
Okay.
So if there's a mistake made, the taxes are paid incorrectly, they're paid late, anything like that, it falls back on us. It's our burden. It's not the client's burden. Whereas if a client is doing that on their own, they're using like a QuickBooks or a spreadsheet or whatever, you're manually calculating payroll. If they make a mistake, then it's on them. You know, so that's one of the biggest pieces of mind of going to a payroll service provider is you're going to have that peace of mind with the tax liability. No, and that's a fair question. It's something I've been off and on interested in leadership for years. It started at ADP. I did like a leadership development training program at ADP, graduated from that program. It was always just kind of assumed to be the next step for me.
Yeah.
And there is very much a big part of it that I really enjoy. I love the mentorship part. I love helping my new teammates when they come in, you know, coaching them. And that was a big part of when I came to Thread, was helping support my manager, Aaron. He needed some help to, you know, get our team built up. And I was there were a few team members here who had been here a couple of years, but for the most part, I came in with a lot of experience when I came here. And so I love being able to help where I can. With a smaller company, it's not as quickly, trying to move up the ladder, which is fine with me. I love where I am right now. But I have said, if that's something that they would like me to take on and help with, I'd be interested. So it's constantly evolving, with each year there's different regulations that can affect our industry. I remember a huge boom being ACA back in 2016?
Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
That really transformed our industry, and you saw a huge increase in people going to PEOs. So that was and that's funny enough, that was the first year I made President's Club when I was at ADP. I had a lot of success working with interdepartmentally, positioning PEO as a solution at that point, or benefits in general. So there's different things that happen just depending on what's happening economically, politically, that have affected things. We saw last year was a challenging year for us. I think it was for a lot of people I spoke to, even outside of my industry, because there was uncertainty with the election. And so I think it kind of hindered the normal buying cycle for a lot of companies. And I heard that across the board. It wasn't just us. It was Thread partners with there's 8 companies total around the country like a Thread. We're all iSolve top resellers. So we put on we make a performance group, and that's how we do our President's Club every year. So in speaking with some of the other groups, they saw the same thing. They weren't seeing as high of numbers as previous years, just a slower sales cycle because there's uncertainty. So things like that are constantly happening that they just affect the sales cycle itself, whether in a good way or a bad way, but there's always something changing in the industry, and it's technology. So as technology changes, we're enhancing things constantly. iSolved itself is enhancing things constantly, relying on feedback from our clients to make improvements. Taking things like AI into consideration, enhancing a lot of our modules through AI. So that right now, the biggest hot button topic is AI and how we can use that to change and make more things efficient for our clients. I think there's certain positions outside of my world that can be eliminated by AI.
Sure.
Right? So think about, go into a McDonald's. You don't order at the counter anymore.
Yeah, there's no one there.
Right. So certain positions are going to be eliminated by AI, but ultimately you can't replace the human element. And I think the factor that we have to consider is how can we use AI to enhance what humans are doing, make us more efficient, improve our profitability through making things as efficient as possible, right? I don't think AI is going to ultimately replace like a payroll person, right? There's still a person that's got to come in and connect with management and make sure that, time cards are correct. You can't just assume that time cards are correct, right? You got to check and make sure.
And understand context.
Now there's certain things that can come into play and catch errors.
Right.
But the communication aspect still has to be there at some capacity. To double check the work. From an HR perspective, I think we're good. You can't replace that piece.
Right.
So, I mean, that's all about it's in the name, human resources. So you got to kind of have a human involved in that too. But again, if we can use AI to help make people as efficient as possible, then great. But I don't see it replacing the humans. Oh, wing it. No, I
thought you were joking. I thought maybe you were serious.
I kind of am. No, for the most part, I do. I'm not as routine as one would think. I'm routine in the fact that I like to start my day every morning the same way. I want to, wake up early, ease into my day. Whether I'm reading, catching up on the news or anything like that, any kind of headlines that have come out that can affect what I'm doing on a daily basis. For the most part, I mean, I like to keep a schedule Monday through Friday and, try to be in bed by 9 kind of a thing.
Yep.
I can't give you like the golden ticket to what I do that contributes to it. There's certain people in my life, I think, that help keep me in line.
Yep.
You know, my boss, my husband, you know,
Yep.
they both, I have, you know, consistent points where I'm checking in, you know, making sure that I'm on top of things.
Yep.
So I rely heavily on that feedback. But I wouldn't necessarily say there's like that golden arrow that I'm shooting every day to really hit my metrics. I have certain processes in place that I follow, and
Yeah.
I make sure that I'm doing my follow-ups and hitting all of those metrics from a like activity perspective.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't tell you there's anything like very consistent that I'm doing. That used to be an easier answer. Gosh, we've been getting in this roundtable discussion as a group because deals are stalling.
Yes.
Unlike they used to. And it's taken us to a roundtable of creative discussion of what can we add in between selling and the steps? Like what are we missing? Is there something that we're doing wrong, right?
Yep.
And I don't think it's necessarily that. I think a combination of it, maybe some deals might fall through the cracks because we've missed a step or something. But for the most part, people, again, companies are taking their time and evaluating things.
Yes.
I think a lot of companies, especially in our industry, or you know, evaluating our industry, they're a little bit trigger shy because they've been burned by a previous bad experience, and sometimes the devil you know is easier.
Yep.
So I see a lot of that. I hear it all the time. I'll cold call someone, and they will say, "I hate my payroll company, but honestly, it's such a pain to switch. I'm just going to stay here for a while."
Yep.
You know, so we get these kind of calls. It creates a stale process, but overall, I would say maybe a couple months from start to finish for an interested buyer who's
correct,
an educated buyer.
Yep.
Maybe a couple months from start. You know, my initial call with them is a discovery call, so we can really do a deep dive and learn the most about each other.
Yeah.
It's very low pressure. I think a lot of people think that going through a payroll evaluation is going to be me pushing something on the, you know, here's what you guys need to do. You need to buy this from me. It's very much not that. The discovery, and maybe maybe in the past I may have even been that way, but my process is very much, we're starting with a discovery. It's kind of a mutual evaluation. You know, are we right for each other?
Yep.
Are we going to be a good fit for you? If not, I'll tell you that. I had a call yesterday with somebody, and the scenario she laid out to me, I said, "You're probably better off looking at a PEO. We're not a PEO." So just having that initial discovery conversation to see if it's even a fit. From there, we go through a demo process to make sure the technology is going to achieve everything they're looking for it to achieve.
Yep.
We usually have a couple more calls in there to go through pricing and, you know, kick all the tires, make sure everybody in the executive buying team is happy with the decision and all of that. From there, they go through implementation, which is anywhere from 4 to 12 weeks, depending on the size and complexity of the company.
Yeah.
And then they go live from there. And when they go live, they transition over to their customer service team. So
got it.
All in all, from start to finish, it can be, a few months. I'll say this, I'm not necessarily incentivized to. It's not like I'm told, hey, you have to call at this point in time.
Yeah.
Something I've started doing with my clients is, because I'm looking for ways to give back to my referral partners first. So if I can uncover additional opportunities to connect my clients with good people in my trusted network.
Expand, yeah.
So something I've started doing is a 6-month check-in with each of my clients. And I just get on a quick call with them. One, to make sure they're still happy with us, right?
Yep.
That's a big part of it. I want to still come in and say, is there anything we could be doing differently, right? So just having that feedback, educating them on any kind of enhancements that we might have made that could help serve them better.
Yep.
And then also pivoting to that, is there anybody in my trusted network that I've built over the years that could be a good connection for you?
Got it.
So that's something I've myself have started doing. I've found it really helpful. It's, I've learned updates from my clients. I have a dear client that I love so much, and she just told me a couple of weeks ago that she's going to be retiring next year.
Oh, no.
So having those checkpoints when I'm in sales, like my job is bringing in new business, but at the same time, I've built relationships with these clients. It's nice to catch up with them and check back in with them. So as salespeople, I mean, it sounds so monotonous, but we're constantly wanting to one up, right?
Yes.
I want to do better and better and better every year. Yeah. I mean, I have a goal for myself to break records.
Yes.
I've been trying to. We're getting there, but I've done some really good planning with my VP of sales into some strategy to put in place for this next year, and I'm excited about that. And to have him hold me accountable to hit those goals I'm setting. But so yeah, I mean, that's a pretty standard goal for a salesperson. But yeah, I mean, I'm proud of that every year. If I'm doing better every year, like that makes me proud. Yep. I think personally, I love to travel. My husband and I really love to travel. We're constantly planning the next trip. He was just texting me yesterday about how the ski trip he wants to plan for next year. So, no, but I mean, I have never been anywhere in Asia. As far as I've gone, it's been like South America, Europe. Yep. I haven't been to Asia, Australia, anything like that. I'd love to go over there. The thought of that long of a flight is daunting.
Yes.
But there's so much to see. Yep. And to me, travel is it's one of the most important ways to educate yourself. Yeah. I was fortunate to grow up in a family that traveled all over. Oh, really? All the time. Okay. And it really opened my eyes as a child, and it made me value different cultures and different ways of life. Yep. And appreciate how good we have it here, actually. Yeah. Because, I saw some stuff. We went to third world countries and things. Wow. So it truly made me very thankful for what I had, too. Yep. So I think, traveling it's one of the best ways that you can learn. I mean, I've had a few, especially in my previous life. This is not to disparage small businesses, but a lot of the small businesses that I worked with had no idea what they were doing. They started a company because they had a dream. Yes. As does every small business, right? And no disrespect to a small business. Correct. That's what we need. Yep. But you'd get these people who had no clue what they were doing at all. And it truly would be a dumpster fire on both parts. I'm learning as you're learning because I don't know what you're doing. Right. But I did have a client one time where we actually did break up with them because everything that we had discussed during the sales cycle, they were somehow flipping it and then acting very confused whenever we were going through the implementation, to the point where the implementation person's reaching out to me. I'm saying, these are my notes from our discussion. I don't know where they're getting confused. It was just like a bad game of telephone, and they just weren't understanding. We were not understanding. We were all trying to meet in the middle, and it just wasn't working, to the point we said, I don't think this is going to be the right fit for you guys. Like, you seem like the client who's never going to be happy. And in that case, maybe it's best that you guys just don't.
So you never even onboarded them?
No. Sometimes you have to, but
you do.
Early in my career, I probably would be like, no, make it happen, make it happen, make it happen. Yep. Now, you got to know when to walk away sometimes. Yep. Because just because you want the revenue doesn't mean they're going to be a good client. Yep. So sometimes you just have to say no to people. It's not, they're not going to leave you good reviews if they're not happy. Correct. And if there's someone that it's impossible to make happy, like, why?